Welcome back. In this segment, we are going to work on building out the sleeve. So we'll work on the arm where we have the hand, the lower arm, and the upper arm. For this one, we are going to need an element for what would be the upper arm and setting that up. But for the most part, we're going to be concerned in this one about the sleeve, and then we will actually work on building out the full arm and then the bracer as well. So with that, let's just zoom in a little bit so I can see what I'm working on, and let's add in some nodes here. So we'll add in an element. We'll need one for the upper arm, and then I'll need another element for the main sleeve, and then I will need an element for this section here, this round section that we're looking at. So pull up another element there, and then I will need something to handle the cutout. So I will need an element there. And now if I do look at my other views, specifically the profile view, I can see that I also have a back of the sleeve that's showing up. So I'm going to add in two nodes that will be for my back of sleeve here, so that I have those as well. So with that, let's just select all these nodes, stretch them out so it's easier to see what's going on, and we'll start naming these nodes. This will be my triangle cutout. And then this will be the round part of the sleeve, because really what we can do for animating this, instead of trying to mess with a lot of extra deformers, we'll just have a simple sleeve shape. And then this is really a circle. If we look at that, that's a circle that I can slide up and down on the arm, and then the cutout will move with it, and I can then have a deformer on the cutout to adjust that. So we'll just call this our sleeve circle. And now this will be the sleeve. And this will be my, let's just kind of cut out back, upper. And this will be my cutout, back, lower, and finally this will be my upper arm. Oh, and we do need another element for the shoulder line, because if we look at the different views, we'll see that line is just really a line. So we can set up the sleeve as a larger shape and then just have this line, much like we're doing on the jacket. That's going to be much easier to animate, especially then we can have the little gap occurring on it. We can see how then it sets up that gap. Here the sleeve is nudged in front of the body, there it's behind the body, so we'll probably want to, let's just adjust our view here a little bit so we can kind of see both as we're working. That's going to help us know what we want to do as we pull this off. So let's add in one more element here, and this will be our sleeve line, or we could call it shoulder line or whatever you want. And we'll put that furthest most left here. Select all of these once more, space them out so it's nice and pretty. And with that happening, we're going to need some cutters and some composites and some art layers to go here, because we'll have to be doing a little cross-cutting to set things up. But first, we're just going to set up a composite here. Then this will be, we'll just add in that composite. Highlight all the drawing layers. I'll click to join it, and then I'll click to put this on the upper body. So eventually that upper arm is going to be into its own backdrop, We'll keep the sleeve separate from the upper arm, but we'll just leave it here now where it's convenient for us to work on it. So let's go grab our line tool. Lines is our current color. Excellent. Go back into the node view and we can start creating some artwork. So just for kicks, we currently only have pivots for the lower body, so this is not going to be our finished arm artwork, but what I want to do with this is at least to have a basic shape going through here so we can see that our cutout and everything is working correctly. So this is just going to be placeholder artwork, and we will have to add in some additional pivots like we did for the legs and take care of all of that. But that just gives me some baseline art for that. So now I want to start with the sleeve using this as a guide here. I want the sleeve to start inside, and I need access to my tool properties because we'll be turning for this initial part. When I look at it, I want to be able to create the curve here, but I didn't want that initial snap happening with it. So we really are kind of, all right, right about so if I hold down Alt, it turns off snapping temporarily, so I can kind of get to about where I want this portion to be. Let go of my point. Now, so Alt allows me to get to the end here and then able to bend it, and Command or Control Alt or Command Option pulls up my wheel so I can adjust my animation wheel view, but I was holding both of those keys to get this to behave with it. So we get this kind of little pucker. So all right, we're going to just turn off snapping so I don't have to worry about that as much. Now, Alt did give me what I want there. Command, let go of Alt. Now I can get that curve, my line showing up. It's Alt to start drawing. So if we look here, we just have a big curve. So I want to pull down. I'm going to get rid of that previous one here. Turn on snapping to get that line started. Pull down. And now start to kind of round out that line. And Alt gets me my snap, and we'll make that work there. Now if I hold down, this is where zooming in a little bit is going to help. So I start out and I hold Alt so it snaps my line onto it. Now that it's started, let go of Alt, hold down Command or Control to get the bend. Hold down Alt here, go across and it snaps. And now I can like switch to command to pull it out, or control. That gives me the curve that I need for my line. Now we'll switch over to our ellipse tool, switch into our sleeve circle here, and with that we are going to draw from the middle and use that as about the shape that I'm looking for. Let's pull it over a little bit, stretch it. Actually, that was pretty close on the first go. Arrow keys to nudge it over. And now for the triangle cutout. The nice part about doing the triangle cutout here is we just do a nice big cut. And we close it out so that when we create our fill to make it work, it will close it out. Now the sleeve line currently goes from here to here. And I just put a little curve in it. So now we get the curve. So it looks kind of messy because we don't have any fills yet, but we will take care of that in a minute. Now our cutout back upper really is just going to be kind of a sleeve shape that I can put a little bit of bend in there, do a straight line here on it, because we generally are only going to need the corner point anyway, and because it sits behind everything, we just add in a few more lines so we can close it out, and then repeat that process. These are only just small little accents, and then we can put a deformer on it to adjust the curvature of that line as necessary for animation purposes. So this gives us the starting point of our different layers. And I am going to add color up here. That's not where I want it. Let's close that. Color's closed there, and now let's add color up here. That way I don't have to keep hiding things. We don't need to see the palette, so we can shrink that down and make this smaller. This way, now when I'm filling, it's going to be a little bit easier. So I know it's a little different layout for the view, but we can work with it. So click on the sleeve line. That's done. Triangle cutout. We'll make our color art. So I can switch over. Yep. Sleeve circle, make the color art. We can see that worked. Sleeve, create color art, back, color art, and color art. So it's good. We see the blue filling in, and there we go. We need both views so we can get the different colors. So for the arm, that is filled with shirt color. So we can fill that in. We will use the jacket color. Okay, my last line didn't show. So let's just delete that, go back to our line art. Don't know why the line didn't show up. So now we're just filling our different shapes. Cutout I'm going to fill with green because we're not going to see the green anymore as part of it. So now we have our different pieces added in for the arm, and what we want to do is start to do a little bit of blending. So we're going to take the circle and blend it with the rest of the arm here. So because what I want to be able to do is to slide that up and down depending on the view, the perspective of the arm, any deformations or other stuff that we're doing. So by setting that up, we need to grab ourselves some art layers. So if I go into my library there, and I'll go and pull down a version of art layers, and we're not going to be using the overlay, we're not going to be using the underlay, but we will be using our line art, auto patch, and color art. So we're going to need that. This is where we'll probably need a little bit more room. So we're going to have to, I think, spread some things out a little bit more. Spread those way over. So our sleeve, we're going to need those 3. And the sleeve circle, because we want to unify those utilizing cross patching. So what I'm going to do is just go into my color art and then pull color art down. Nope, don't want to do that. Pull that. So now we have the sleeve circle. We just get the color art for it. What we're going to also need is some additional composites to join these pieces together, and some cutters as well. So I know I'm going to need a composite for the 2 sleeve pieces, and then I'll want to combine the triangle cutout with the 2 sleeve pieces. The 2 background ones, I'll leave those separate because they sit behind the arm, so I don't want to put them in a composite up front here. And then we'll need a bunch of cutters. So having prepped this up before, I know that I'm going to, okay, let's not have it join in. So I know I need, I'll just move them up here. So we're going to need a bunch of cutters to make this happen. And so these 2 sleeve pieces we will put into their own composite. So select that, Alt, 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 select this, Alt, Alt, and then the cutout is going to need a set of those, so we'll copy, paste as well. Move the cutout over there, move that over. Again, you know, we kind of are getting shy on space. So I like the alt clicking as a way to join things down. I sometimes find that to be just a little bit better of a way. So now let's just select all of that, and so I realized I lost my little controls there, so I'm just going to hit node view again, and this time I'll just close that node view, open up this node view, and we'll just move our way over to the nodes we're working on, and now I have access. I don't know why they disappeared. I suspect it's tied to when I moved color up and messed around with that somehow I made a mess out of things. So let's shrink this down, and we're getting some real weird stuff going on right now, but that's simply because we don't have everything connected. So select all of those. Let's see. that arranges that a little bit more. So we'll just pull this one over. Put those there. And when working in nodes, there really is never a big enough screen to pull off what we're trying to do. So we have our sleeve and our sleeve circle. With that, we can see we're bringing in our color arts, and then we're going to do a little cross patching between the two. So that means we need a couple cutters going on. So this auto patch will cut there. This auto patch will cut there. We draw line arts in, put a line art, and put in the line art. And none of it's showing here because, of course, we need to pull that comp back down. And now, if we look at what we have here, we can see we have that whole circle shape. So we can click there. There is the circle. And if we were to just put a peg on it and move it, we can see how we're able to move that circle up and down on the line. So we'll have to set up some, we'll worry about the pegs and do that in a little bit. But right now, we are cross-patching. So if we want to line things up a little bit, so it looks more like our normal cross-patch. So we can see how we have set up the sleeve so it's cross-patching into a composite. And then we're going to combine that with the cutout portion. So we'll put that in with the composite. So we need to do another round of cross-patching here, effectively. Well, not quite cross-patching. So what we want to do with the triangle cutout is we want to have the triangle cutout, and I'm going to just put this composite in here. So this will be our 3 sleeve pieces coming together, and we have the other 2, but we need to keep those not in this composite but separate, otherwise we'll just have to nudge them back. I'd rather not do that yet on it. So now with this composite, we want to cut this, and we're going to then cut it by the color art. So we can see, hey, look, there is the color art there. And now if we put the line art down here, we see, well, we get a whole triangle, so we don't want that. But what we do want is we do want our line art, no, not to cut itself, but we want the auto patch of the circle here. So we'll pull that out to cut it, but then we are going to invert cut it, because when we cut it normally, notice it's giving the stuff out here, not in the middle. We don't want that, so we invert that cut, and now we can see where we have that circle, which if we just disable those, we can see they line up and give us everything that we need on it. Looks like we do need to, we got a little hiccup right there. And realizing I don't know why I cut with the color art, because we cut with auto patch. We don't cut with color art because we don't actually need the color art, that bright green we put in. So now we can see we are getting our shape that we are wanting, that we can put a deformer on to adjust everything. So now if we turn these back on, they're behind. Looks like the lower one needs to move down just a hair. So once that lower one has a peg on it and moves down, So we can see now, see it doesn't show because otherwise it's showing right here. And that's where we need to adjust its position and shape appropriately. But we will worry about that peg on it later. So we've set up the circle for it. We've got that going pretty much. Got the sleeve as we need it. And now this is where I'm thinking, if we, based on this character and its movement, I don't know if we need to do a shoulder patch on it. We'll figure that out. But what we're going to do is go into here on the jacket, go into the line art and grab this tool, and this part of the line right here we don't want, because then that's going to match the artwork that we have, and we'll do the same on this side over here. So this is where we'll need to just, as we change the shape on it, it all ends right there, and that line is separate. So you can see how we're able to, now the circle, we can move it. We can move the cutout that we have here. So you can move this cutout where we can rotate it and adjust it. So we got the sleeve in pretty good shape. The final thing that we need to do then is we'll need to set up some rigging, or rigging some deformations on it. But what I would like to do is, before I do that, is select all of these and just do add a peg. So Command Shift or Control Shift P. So adding in the shift allows them to be done on each individual one. So now going on to the sleeve line here. So I can just click and pull down, and that's pretty well done there. Turn that off. Go into the triangle cutout here. So if we start out at this point right here, we'll go forward 2, add in 2 points there, come back 2, and then 2 on the other side. So that's more of an envelope. So I'm going to click here, and then can click there. And it looks like approximately out here. We'll click back to there, and I'll click to here, Alt to adjust that, Alt. Pull that around. So now we can see we have our points. Just need to adjust them so they line up with what I want. Don't really know if the circle needs a deformer on it, so we're going to leave that off. The sleeve, when we look through, there's some variance. It's pointed on one, curves more or less. So it does make sense. We probably want to put a deformer on the sleeve, and I'm going to start with my point back here. Probably should have started down there, or even treated that as a, depending on what the animation requires. So that's something where we might have wanted to put that onto its own separate layer. But for now, we will just assume that we will be able to make it work with it there. So that gives us the deformer that we need there. These, I think we can just slide around and adjust. And the arm we are replacing. We need a little more peg room here so we can see what's going on. Zoom out a little bit, because when we add in pegs and set those points, they will group together that way. So now we have all of those pegs. Let's just clean up their alignment. So the sleeve pieces, all of the sleeve pieces will go, let's see, so there's the line, we'll keep that separate. Now we have the cutout, and from the cutout, and so the circle will control the cutout and those two other, the back pieces on it. So then this one needs an additional peg that then controls those two. And then sleeve is going, this will be our sleeve master here, which is going to then control the circle and the line. So now as we look at that, a good practice, we keep those in alignment when they're going to share the same pivot point. Let's just turn off the deformers, grab our rotate tool. We can see it starts down here. So the sleeve is really, rotating, moving from the shoulder. I mean, the sleeve is going to be attached to the upper arm peg as well, but it's going to be somewhere in that vicinity. Now if we go into this sleeve circle, we'll just put that kind of in the middle. That makes sense there. The cutout we'll put at the corner so it's easy to find. Back of the sleeve there. If we determine that it needs an OGL connector just to make it easier to find, then we'll do that. Now this sleeve line is going to want an OGL connector because, again, selecting lines is just never fun. So let's go and grab OGL controller. So now we have an OGL controller for the sleeve line, and then the sleeve line of course goes into its peg port. And right now I think we'll make an, just so the cables aren't, well, we can just add it over. So select that, find my OGL comp here, and then alt click and it joins it in. And once more we do our usual, let's go in and modify it. We'll go down to a 0.2. We're going to use squares for all of those elements. Go into setup mode there. Put that right there, and this will be sleeve line. 6-point text and 128. Yeah, see, 128 works there, not for that one. I don't know why. Now we might end up wanting to, once we get the whole arm done, we create a OGL controller for the arm that we can just click on and grab quickly, so it selects the whole arm versus like clicking on a part and going B, 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 B to work it out. But just now that we're done there, turn off setup mode, close that out. So I can click here, move that sleeve around, and I can click here. That shows the sleeve circle. If I want to choose the whole thing, we'll go up one tier so we can see we're now selecting that, and now you can see how it gives us the ability to adjust the shape of that cutout if I want to kind of stretch it or shrink it, and we can certainly do that, and that's in lieu of anything that we're doing with the deformers. So that puts us into a pretty good situation of having control of this portion of the arm. So we got the sleeve done. So now we'll go in our next step and work on actually building out the 3 parts for the arm, as well as then probably adding the bracer in a additional installment. So good luck and happy rigging.